And finally, new rule. Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma. Sorry. No. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Ever wonder what happens when real media titans collide with daytime TV's echo chamber? The View just got served a verbal smackdown so savage, they might need to rename the show The Rear View. Without even stepping foot on set, Megyn Kelly and Bill Maher delivered a knockout blow that left Whoopi Goldberg and her cohorts reeling. The aftermath was immediate. Studio executives scrambling, audience members gasping, and social media erupting in flames. What exactly did they say that caused such chaos? The brutal honesty that followed wasn't just criticism, it was an execution. And the most delicious part? Neither Kelly nor Maher needed to be in the room to deliver the fatal strike. When Kelly unleashed her take on The View, she didn't just criticize, she dissected them with surgical precision. "They're disgusting," she began, eyes narrowed with focused intensity. "You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has." The words landed like precision bombs, targeting not just their professional abilities, but their fundamental worth as media figures. Kelly didn't throw a punch. She launched a tactical missile strike.
"They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space."
But what makes this takedown particularly fascinating isn't just the brutality. It's the accuracy. Kelly, a veteran of both Fox News and NBC, knows the industry inside and out. When she points out that The View hosts could never solo host a show, she's not just insulting them, she's highlighting a fundamental truth about their professional limitations. These women don't stand on their own. They exist in a carefully crafted ecosystem where dissent is an illusion and genuine disagreement is treated like a communicable disease.
Paul, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America. There is one view,
right, and that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
The damage was swift and unmistakable. No formal response came from The View, but the silence spoke volumes. What defense could they possibly mount against someone who sliced through their pretense with such effortless precision? Meanwhile, Bill Maher approached from an entirely different angle, but with equally devastating results. On his show, he addressed Whoopi Goldberg's previous attacks against him with the cool detachment of someone swatting away an annoying insect. "Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis," he remarked with characteristic bluntness. The audience erupted in knowing laughter because Maher said aloud what many viewers think silently. Maher's most cutting observation came when he dissected the very premise of the show. "It's called The View. It's not called The Facts," he noted, words dripping with sarcasm. "But isn't it interesting that it's called The View? I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago." In just a few sentences, Maher highlighted the show's fundamental contradiction. It presents itself as a forum for diverse perspectives while actually enforcing rigid ideological conformity. The irony is painfully obvious. A show called The View that can only tolerate a single viewpoint. A platform allegedly devoted to women's voices that silences any woman who dares think differently. Maher exposed this hypocrisy not with rage, but with the casual disdain of someone who's seen it all before.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, "Oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma." First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide.
What makes the conflict especially intriguing is that Maher isn't some right-wing firebrand. He's been the standard-bearer for liberalism for decades. His criticisms can't be dismissed as partisan attacks. They come from within the same broad ideological camp. When he points out The View's excesses, it carries a weight that conservative critics simply can't match. The exchange about the word woke perfectly illustrates the fundamental disconnect. Sunny Hostin attempted to lecture Maher about the term's origins in the black community as awareness of social injustice. Maher, unfazed, acknowledged the original meaning before pointing out the obvious. Words do migrate. He wasn't denying the term's origins. He was simply noting its evolution, something that should be uncontroversial to anyone who understands how language works.
That hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this.
I have another legal note.
Oh, my God.
Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
But The View doesn't operate in a world of nuance. It deals in moral absolutes where disagreement isn't just incorrect, it's evil. Watch Sunny Hostin's body language during this exchange, the crossed arms, the tight expression, the visible contempt. This isn't a conversation, it's an inquisition. Perhaps the most damning indictment came when Maher addressed The View's tendency to demonize political opponents. When discussing MAGA hats, he pointed out the absurdity of comparing Trump supporters to Nazis. You can hate Donald Trump, you can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country, he observed. I don't want to live in that country, and I don't hate half the country. In that single moment, Maher exposed the fundamental bankruptcy of The View's approach to political discourse. While they preach unity and understanding, they practice division and contempt. The cognitive dissonance is staggering, and Maher laid it bare with the ease of someone pointing out that the emperor has no clothes.
I mentioned this karma stuff on the show last week because I was relating how many texts and emails I got from people congratulating me on receiving a karmagram from the universe in the form of Whoopi Goldberg's chastisement. So I thought this would be a good time for a little tutorial on karma, which, as Americans understand it, is nothing more than an extension of the common logical fallacy called post hoc ergo propter hoc.
The View's credibility problem extends beyond its political biases. Kelly highlighted their repeated factual errors, noting that they had to issue not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, in a short period. For a show that presents itself as an authoritative voice on current events, this level of inaccuracy is damning. These aren't minor slips. They're legal corrections, meaning the statements were potentially defamatory. What's particularly striking about both critiques is how they expose The View's fundamental contradiction. The show presents itself as a forum for women's empowerment, yet it treats dissenting women with contempt. Conservative hosts like Megyn Kelly or former View panelist Meghan McCain aren't engaged with, they're vilified. The message is clear. Female empowerment matters only for women who think the right way.
Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed, if you ask them. As we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of The View.
January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust and slavery.
Look at how they treated Alyssa Farah Griffin when she simply pointed out that Trump attended a police officer's funeral while Biden was doing a podcast. Whoopi Goldberg's reaction was immediate and hostile. "I was so offended," she declared, face contorted with anger. The irony was palpable. A show supposedly devoted to diverse viewpoints couldn't tolerate even this mild factual observation because it painted Trump in a potentially positive light. The dynamic on display isn't intellectual engagement. It's tribalism in its purest form. The View has devolved into the television equivalent of a social media echo chamber, where pre-existing beliefs are reinforced rather than challenged. It's comfort food for people who want their biases confirmed, not questioned. Both Kelly and Maher highlighted this fundamental problem from different angles. Kelly focused on the professional shortcomings, the lack of solo credibility, the need for the ensemble format to mask individual weaknesses. Maher zeroed in on the intellectual bankruptcy, the inability to engage with opposing views, the reflexive demonization of political opponents.
And by the way, out there, that hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that. Let's not do that.
Because we see it anyway.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
What makes their takedowns especially powerful is that neither Kelly nor Maher needed to appear on The View to deliver them. They spoke from their own platforms on their own terms. The fact that their criticisms spread so widely, generating millions of views online, speaks to how many viewers recognize the truth in what they said. The View's response, or lack thereof, is telling. There was no substantive rebuttal, no thoughtful engagement with the criticisms, just nervous laughter, subtle tension, and a palpable desire to change the subject. It's the reaction of people who know they've been exposed but lack the intellectual tools to respond effectively. This inability to handle criticism reveals another layer of hypocrisy. The View hosts regularly dish out harsh judgments of others, but they crumble when the spotlight turns on them. It's the classic bully mentality, aggressive toward others, but fragile when challenged.
I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill Maher, who has been the standard bearer for liberalism and in many ways leftism until the woke went bananas in this last decade, but for decades, that's what this guy has represented in America. I want you to note the tone they all talk with him. I want you to look at Sonny Hostin's body language and the way they look at him and everything else. Just because he is a lefty who hasn't gone completely bananas, here they are talking about the word woke.
What's particularly fascinating is how this conflict reflects broader cultural divisions. The View represents a certain approach to discourse that's become increasingly common, emotional, moralistic, and intolerant of dissent. Kelly and Maher, despite their different political leanings, both represent a more traditional approach based on facts, logic, and the willingness to engage with opposing views. The contrast couldn't be more stark. When discussing January 6th, Sonny Hostin compared it to the Holocaust child slavery, a comparison so historically illiterate and morally grotesque that it defies rational response. This kind of hyperbole isn't just factually wrong, it's intellectually dishonest. It's designed to shut down conversation rather than facilitate it. Maher's point about not hating half the country is particularly relevant here. The View's approach to politics isn't just mistaken, it's actively harmful to civic discourse. When you paint your political opponents as not just wrong, but evil, you make compromise impossible. You transform politics from the art of the possible into a moral crusade where anything is justified against the forces of darkness. The irony is that The View positions itself as progressive and forward-thinking, yet its approach to discourse is fundamentally regressive. It's the modern equivalent of a medieval morality play, with clear heroes and villains and no room for moral complexity or nuance.
Whoopi Goldberg was angry when Alyssa pointed out that Trump went to the funeral of Officer Diller on Long Island, and Joe Biden went to a podcast. Look at Whoopi Goldberg's reaction.
Choose what you like there, but for Republicans, it was good imagery.
Really?
One day later, yes.
And I'm asking that because I was so offended, because you know who showed up. Yeah. And he was, whether he was asked or not. This is a man who didn't care what happened to the officers on January 6th.
She promotes Joe Biden and Kamala Harris every day on that show. Trump wasn't supportive enough of the cops who were, yes, in danger on J 6th. How does that explain their behavior on a daily basis?
Kelly and Maher, from their different perspectives, both recognize this problem. They understand that healthy democracy requires the ability to disagree without demonizing, to criticize without dehumanizing. The View, for all its talk of tolerance and understanding, practices neither when it comes to political opponents. This isn't just a media spat, it's a microcosm of a broader cultural divide. The question isn't whether you agree with Kelly or Maher on specific issues, it's whether you believe in an approach to discourse that values facts over feelings, engagement over exclusion, and civility over demonization. The View's failure isn't just a failure of execution, it's a failure of concept. When Barbara Walters created the show, she envisioned a platform where diverse women could share their perspectives on current events. What it's become is something very different, a platform where ideological conformity is enforced through social pressure and moral grandstanding.
The term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words migrate.
Why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want.
Okay.
Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left? But don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right.
Well, he's talking about the left. Well, then
okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right.
Both Kelly and Maher expose this contradiction, though in different ways. Kelly focused on the professional shortcomings, while Maher highlighted the intellectual dishonesty. Together, they delivered a comprehensive critique that cut to the heart of what The View has become. The most telling aspect of this entire saga is that neither Kelly nor Maher needed to be on The View to make their points. They spoke from their own platforms, and their words spread organically because they resonated with viewers. In an age of viral clips and social media sharing, The View's controlled environment can't contain criticism or prevent it from reaching its audience. That's the ultimate irony, a show called The View that can't control which views its audience hears. Despite the host's best efforts to create an ideological bubble, reality has a way of intruding. Kelly and Maher punctured that bubble with precise, targeted strikes that exposed the emptiness within. As The View continues its decline into irrelevance, it serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of valuing ideological conformity over intellectual honesty. Kelly and Maher, whatever their other disagreements, both understand something fundamental about media that The View hosts have forgotten. Credibility comes from consistency, honesty, and the willingness to engage with opposing views.
You had a discussion on The View about world superpowers from the sound of it. That's how they got into it. And Sunny Hostin made some comments about patriotism and America and Black America. It's all in there, Jason. I mean, it's all in there. I'm going to tee it up. It starts with Alyssa Farah, who's supposed to be the Republican commentator. And then you'll hear Sunny jump in. Listen.
The View's ratings may remain solid, buoyed by institutional inertia and audience habit, but its cultural impact diminishes with each passing day as viewers increasingly recognize the intellectual bankruptcy at its core. Kelly and Maher didn't just criticize a talk show, they diagnosed a deeper cultural malady, the substitution of emotional satisfaction for intellectual engagement, of tribal affirmation for genuine dialogue. In the end, The View's greatest failure isn't that it's biased. All media has bias. Its failure is that it's boring, predictable, and intellectually lazy. Kelly and Maher, love them or hate them, are none of those things. That's why their critiques landed with such force, and why they'll be remembered long after The View's latest manufactured outrage has been forgotten. The battle between these media titans reflects something much larger than a personal feud. It's about competing visions of what public discourse should be. On one side, The View represents an approach based on moral certainty, emotional appeal, and ideological conformity. On the other, Kelly and Maher, despite their differences, represent an approach based on factual accuracy, intellectual engagement, and the willingness to challenge orthodoxies. The outcome of this larger cultural battle remains uncertain, but one thing is clear. Kelly and Maher delivered a masterclass in effective criticism, exposing The View's contradictions and hypocrisies without ever setting foot in their studio. That's not just criticism, that's art.